In this section, we're going to talk about explicitly tackling misconceptions. Studies are showing that the Australian classroom, especially the maths classroom, should be more than just a worked example. Students are arriving to maths classes today with a variety of ability and levels. Students need to feel engaged to what they're doing, and then an engagement is more than just following a teacher and what they are explaining. They need to be talking about the math helps them to level up their thinking. So we promote student discourse moving around the room. So in this example, this is a worked example, a traditional worked example that you would see in your classroom. So having students follow along with the worked example and then getting them to do the student practice is something that you probably are doing in your classroom every day. But to level it up a bit, you could do an example like a 4 corners activity. So when the students go to work on the student practice, then you can have in your classroom, in the 4 corners of your room, you could set up 4 different answers. Another option is you could have multiple choice answers already projected on the whiteboard, and students would have to choose which answer. Another option is you could have in the 4 corners just strongly disagree, disagree, agree, or strongly agree. The point of this is that you want to get students to get up and move around to the different corners to justify their answers and to talk about the math and to talk to each other about their thinking. Specifically targeting misconceptions in the worked example is a place where you can get students to talk about what they're thinking and not be afraid of making a mistake. Often, students get a bit nervous about making mistakes in math, and they don't want to seem like they're making mistakes in front of their friends. By celebrating the mistakes and saying that it's okay and acknowledging them allows students to feel more comfortable in their learning. Another way that you can work on tackling misconceptions is working backwards with a fully worked solution. So you could show on the whiteboard an actual explanation of a question and then get students to think through about the key ideas and the key points and what the question actually could be asking. So using the fully worked solution, students can analyze the math in front of them, and then together in groups or in pairs, they could work together to create what the question is asking. This is also a great way for differentiation, as students can enter this sort of problem at any level, and they can work. It doesn't mean that they have to actually know what the question is asking. By being given the answer and working backwards, students feel more confident in thinking about what could be asked. Again, this is another activity that promotes discourse, which gets students to think about and talk about what they're learning, which levels them up in actually understanding more than just doing the skill. So you can ask the students, what information is being provided? How is this information useful? What are the key points? What is being emphasized in this explanation? And then you can have a really fun variety of what questions could be asked. This is a great time where you could also use a gallery walk. You could have students present what their questions are, have other students walk around, getting them to talk about all the different types of questions that could be asked given one solution. So another example of tackling misconceptions is the use of non-examples. So non-examples in maths is becoming increasingly more popular, as studies have shown that generalizing and discriminating is what are both needed to help students learn and master a skill. So if you want to move up the Bloom's taxonomy, you know that it's not just generalizing, it's not just analyzing, but it's applying to then create is how they really can go deeper in their learning. So specifically targeting a misconception in each of the lessons will help students to not just memorize what they should do, but it's also going to help them to think about what they need, the knowledge that they need in order to apply that skill by knowing what is incorrect. So when they generalize by following in a worked example of knowing, okay, these are the steps that I need to do, by use of non-example, what they're doing is they're discriminating on what it actually is not. So using a multiple choice question where each of the options is actually targeting a misconception is another great way to talk about what the skill is. So as a teacher, what you could do is go through each of the multiple choice options to explain why is this not the correct answer, instead of always leading them to what is the correct answer.